All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some LPDS life updates, universe updates, talk a little bit about sports, and we got an interesting Cage fact, Cage update to provide to you guys. All that's coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti, the show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything. We have a good time doing it. Hope everybody had a good week. It is cold here in Texas, and the Yankees stink. And I've been I got a good insight, I guess you could say. I got some good insight. It's not really a recommendation, but it was a good sort of like mini aha moment from an old friend, a brother in arms, Steve McStiff. And he mentioned he's a longtime listener, longtime fan, and good friend, as you know. And he mentioned, it's you probably usually talk about the Yankees in the beginning of episodes because it ends up getting you heated, but then you still have the rest of the episode to cool off as opposed to ending things hot like I did last episode talking about the Yankees because they get me hot and bothered. And it's been like that for a long time. And he made a really good point. And so if I talk about the Yankees from here on out, I'm going to try to keep it in the beginning, unless I know for sure it's just good news, and then I'll save good news maybe for a Junction topic one day. But right now, it hasn't been good news for the Pinstripes, and I'm not happy about it. Also, it's been cold here in Texas the last week, and I'm not talking Texas cold. I'm talking cold, 30s, all week, and raining on and off. It's been gloomy and cold and rainy all week. Now, I know most people above the Mason-Dixon line, they're in the 20s. Got it. I understand how the sun and the heat and the Earth's axis affects the temperature and environment in different parts of the country, north and south. Pretty familiar with that. I know that it's colder up north. I don't need to hear about how the north has it tougher in the winters, and you should just shut up and stop crying about a little cold weather one week in Texas. Got it. Don't need to hear about it. Don't forget too, for all those people who want to win the toughness game, the winter toughness game, I spend the winters up north, still, like an idiot. I go home to the motherland. You know this because I record from the dungeon. So I still live in the cold. I still exist in the cold. I still survive the cold from the north. So I don't need to hear about it. What I don't like, though, is when I make my escape back down to the south and the cold comes with me. And let me tell you something. If in case I forgot that I was just up north, don't worry, because the Texas faithful down here made sure to remind me every chance they got anytime they heard that I was from New Jersey. I must have heard it about 10 times this week alone. That same saying. Oh, you must have brought the cold with you then. Oh, you were just up there? Looks like you brought the cold with you. Ha ha ha, partner. And I'm okay. Like, we'll make fun of it, but I'm gonna laugh it off. I'm not gonna judge those people. I'm not gonna get mad at them. It's funny how different regions have they different pockets of the country have different commonalities, I guess you could say. Everybody's different and unique in their own right, but when it comes to like, you could call them stereotypes. I know that has a negative term, a negative stigma attached to it, but stereotypes are really just statistical norms that go on with certain regions of people, groups of people, demographics, what have you, good or bad. There's plenty of Italian American stereotypes, and some are good, and I like some of them. Some are bad, and I laugh at them. I don't care that much. There's there's just stereotypes. It doesn't mean people hate you. They're just noticing trends. And the trend down here is this is one of their sayings. Whenever it's cold and they can find somebody from the north, that's the reason why it's cold, because they brought it down with them. We control, the climate wherever we go when it's cold. Because I don't bring the heat up to the north when I go home in the summertime. I don't hear that from the NJ faithful. So it must just be when the cold hits up north, we bring it down to the south, according to these fine people here. Because, again, if I heard it once, I heard it 10 times this week alone. It sounds like I brought the cold down with me from the north, and I am the one to blame. I'm lucky that nobody tried to take a shot at me. So I guess there's that. But it has been cold, 30s cold, like legit actual cold, and it hasn't been fun because I don't like the cold. You know that. I only subject myself to the cold whether I'm going on like a hunting excursion, which I haven't done in years, unfortunately. I need to get back out there, get back out in the wilderness, or when I go home to visit family in the wintertime. Otherwise, I don't like the cold. I can't function as well in the cold. When it gets below 65 degrees, my appendages, my fingies start getting too cold to like function as quickly and nimbly as usual. Even when I'm typing right now, it's 65, 66 in my house right now, the LPDS compound, because I maintain my frugal ways when it comes to the thermostat, and I sleep better in the cold. Ironically enough, most people do, I think. When it gets below 66, 67 degrees, I can feel it in my fingies. I don't know if you can't see it on YouTube land, but when I press on my sausage fingers, you can see the discoloration because my hands are cold. I don't know what it is. Just that's what happens, and I can't function as quickly and as nimbly and as effectively as normal when it comes to typing and other hand stuff. So this whole week was, frustrating in that regard. But we power through. Randy and I find a way to get through as we always do here, and as we always preach in the LPDS universe, adapt or die. And that's what we're doing. Nobody's dead, so that's good. Well, let me tell you something. So, heads need to roll in the New York Yankee front office. Because we got nothing but bad news the past week in Yankee land. Nothing but bad news. And it started with something that I know the Yankees social media director, whoever's in charge of that, thought this was a good video to put out there to brag about the team. Because they try to put the social media, the Instagram pages for the sports teams, they're only putting out the good stuff of their team. Or major updates, major news updates. which they did this week, and I'll get into those in a second. Otherwise, it's only good stuff. They never post when the Yankees lose a game. They only post the score, the final score if the Yankees win. Stuff like that. And only the highlights, the good Yankee highlights. That's what they're supposed to do. I get it. That's their job. So they posted a video earlier in the week of, I don't remember who the batter was on the Yankees, which goes to show you probably not one of their better hitters because it's really Judge. That's their better hitter right now. And it wasn't a him. So it was maybe it was Jason Dominguez. I don't know. But it was a video of this batter against a Yankees pitcher. I think it was Clark Schmidt. I can't be too sure. I didn't really see the number well enough on the jersey to see if it was Clark Schmidt. I thought it was, though. Who's supposed to be, one of their starting five on the mound. And this video is saying, this batter, really off to a good start. And he's hitting a home run off of the pitcher. Now, again, they're trying to put a positive spin. Like, look at these guys are already mashing. That's what the fans want to see, home runs. But here's what I saw. Here's what the jaded, angry, bitter Yankees fans saw. And I admit that. I'm jaded. I'm probably biased because of it. I'm definitely biased because of it. To the point where sometimes I'm even looking for the bad. And maybe that's what I did here. Hand up, maybe. But you could take a look at the video, too, on their Instagram page from last week. I forgot what date it was. But here's what I saw. I saw a mediocre hitter. By the way, for context here, only 6 Major League Baseball teams in the entire league of 30-plus teams, only 6 of them had a combined team batting average of over 250. Only 6. Everybody else, every other team was below 250, which is absolutely embarrassing. I know they don't care anymore, but we do. That's an embarrassment. Under 250 as a team. That's terrible. So you have a batter up for the Yankees, a no-name, or a guy who hasn't really proven himself if it's Dominguez. Sub 250 hitter. Stinks. Okay? That stinks. I don't care who you're talking to. I don't care what analytics guys say. It doesn't matter. Batting average doesn't matter anymore. We care about this. No. It stinks. Okay? Any baseball fan or baseball mind with half a brain knows that's a stinky hitter. And this guy just parked one off of one of the starting 5 Yankees pitchers. And they're bragging about it. Look at that. What a great start. Already smashing home runs and banging and this and that. All that showed me was that we have a problem already with our starting pitching. Our pitching is going to be real problematic if they're giving up home runs, easy home runs, to subpar hitters. So it's bad enough that 8 of the 9 offensive roster lineup spots in the batting order are questionable at best. Now we got to worry about our pitching. We have maybe Garrett Cole. He's getting older, so his consistency is going to go down. His reliability will naturally go down. And one of their starting 5 is giving up home runs to these bozos. That is nothing to brag about if I were an actual Yankees social media director. I would probably hide that, or at the very least, not include the Yankees pitcher in the video. Just show the picture of the batter hitting a home run and spin it. Spin the narrative. Do something to not show your ass to the rest of the league. Hey, our batters stink. You already knew that. But guess who else stinks? Our pitchers. Because they're giving up bombs to our shitty batters. So that's great. And as we continue down the Yankee update road, I just thought of a fourth one that came up this past week. Regular season, Giancarlo Stanton is already injured. And they're already saying there's a good chance he's not starting the regular season. And who knows how long he might be out. And what they're saying now is it looks like he has double tennis elbow, which is not extra tennis elbow in one arm. It's tennis elbow in both arms. Now, normally that sounds way too ridiculous for any normal human being to accrue, to acquire, be subject to. You get tennis elbow in your dominant hand, whether you're throwing a lot, whether you're swinging like a tennis racket, tennis elbow. It's usually from overuse of your appendage. Now, any medical professionals out there want to correct me on that, please do. I'm just going off of what I saw on Google. So any normal person, it's one arm, one limb, whatever, one shoulder, whatever. But because we know that Giancarlo Stanton is a freak of nature and 75% created in a lab, we know he's swinging he's all arms. He's only arms. His legs are just the Muppet like foam and felt just dangling there. And he has to rely on everything from the waist up to generate his power. And he still holds all the league records for the hardest hit balls in the history of anything hitting a ball. Machine, alien, man. It's him. So, of course, it makes sense that Giancarlo Stanton has double tennis elbow because he overused his arm, overuse of his muscles in his arms. Because that's all he uses, his arms. And after years and years and years of doing this, because the scientists in the lab never completed him, and he can only use his upper body, he got double tennis arm. And this is just very standard regular season Stanton. What's frustrating about this is not that he's injured. Yes, it's annoying, but we know that's happening. It's not his fault anymore. He was created in a lab. He can only do so much with what he's got. What's frustrating is that the Yankees front office knows this. And you know how I know they know this? Cashman blurted it out last year as a talking point to the media and indirectly caused the loss of contract to the Japanese pitcher Yamamoto, who signed with the Dodgers, because he has the same agent as Stanton. And they said, we're not going to go and sign with a team who talks about their players like that and doesn't respect their players like that. So we know that Cashman knows that Giancarlo Stanton gets injured all the time. And another year in a row, he's done nothing to prepare for that. He has not filled any void whatsoever, knowing that bat is out of the lineup. That power is out of the lineup. Now, I guess luckily, regular season Stanton, on a good year, bats .250 with 35 to 40 home runs. So it's not going to it's not going to affect the team that much. But for the Yankees offense, he was like their number 3 batter last year. Top 4 batter last year with those numbers, which is crazy because he was also hurt last year, and regular season Stanton stinks. And we know this. But the Yankees continue to do nothing to prepare for that. They know his contract. They know how long they have him for. And they know his tendencies. They know what's going to happen. He's going to get hurt. He's going to stink in the regular season. We just got to get him to the playoffs healthy. Yet they do nothing to prepare to get him there. And once again, this is what we get. Now we have another hole in the roster, as if we didn't have enough holes in the lineup as it was. Then, just when you think it's not going to get any worse, Hal Steinbrenner comes out and lets everybody know we're finally changing the no beard policy on the Yankees ball club, which was a long-standing policy and tradition back when old George Steinbrenner took over the team, the ownership, and that was their policy for 40, 50 plus years, however long it was. And the reasons for that was we talked to a lot of the current players on the team. We talked to a lot of past players on the team in the league, and we realized that regardless of what we think of the rule, we think it's a good policy for tradition and order and discipline. There is talks that there are players that won't sign with the Yankees organization because of that policy. And if we don't agree with it, but if there's a chance that we're going to lose players because of this policy, we don't want to take that chance. So we're going to drop the policy. You can now have well-groomed beards on the team, and hopefully that will deter players from signing elsewhere now. They'll be a little bit more open to signing with us. Now, again, sounds like a good thing. I thought the beard rule was kind of stupid. I like the well-groomed, like the next step up. Nice, well-groomed beard, nothing too crazy and out of sorts like the one dude on Philly, not Jason Worth, he was also on the Nationals, Jason Worth. The other guy on Philly, I forgot his name, the outfielder who looks like Jesus and Forrest Gump combined. Nothing crazy like that, but just, well-groomed beard, you're allowed to do it now. I thought the rule was kind of stupid and pointless. It was more of like, I have control over you, so therefore this is what you're going to do kind of thing. But so I don't mind the rule change. The reasons for it make me scared for the future of the ball club. Because if you're a successful ball club who is posturing your team to win World Series like you say you're trying to do, and other players know that, then there's no reason to be scared of players not signing with you because of that policy. Okay? The only people that don't sign with the team for a policy like that are either idiots, and there's obviously a couple idiots out there who are prima donnas and think that their beard is what gives them their power. Very few of those, though. Or you don't think that team is actually going to help you win a championship. They're not postured for success. There is something going on with that team, and I'm just going to use this as an easy out. Oh, they won't let you grow beards, I'm out. But they really know it's like, this team is not going to help me win. So I'm not wasting my time here. And there's a lot more evidence to suggest the latter than anything else. Look at the team the past 10 to 15 years. They have been stinky. And they're not posturing to win a World Series. They're posturing just to be good enough to make the playoffs and hold on to their profits. And banking on other teams stinking, like last year in particular, to get them to the World Series so they can cruise into the World Series and they get dog-walked by an actually good team. That's what they're really postured for. And then they can come out with the excuse, well, we made it to the World Series. We were the second best team in the league. No, you weren't. You were a sham from the start, and it just took until the World Series for you to get exposed. In fact, go back to the first regular season series you had against the Dodgers where they exposed you then. And again, smart people should have seen the writing on the wall then. That the Yankees are not a good team. But that's all they care about is holding on to profits and not actually winning. And other players see that. You think Juan Soto really cared about that? Like there was, they gave me $5 million more and a suite for my family. No, it's $5 million is chump change when you're getting $760 million. Okay, he knew that. What's his face? Cohen, the Cohen on the Mets Cohen owner, whatever. What's his first name? Michael Cohen. That guy is going to spend money. First of all, Soto's going to get paid. Okay, and he knows Cohen is going to spend money to build a team around him so that they can potentially succeed. And I know there's going to be a lot of argument against that, saying, no, he only cared about the money and taking care of his and this and that, and he'll probably be fat like Bartolo Colon and just pack it in from here on out because he got his money. There's a chance of that, sure. But I also believe that Cohen is going to spend the money on players to win championships, because guess what happens when you win championships? For good players like Soto, who signed these big contracts, they get bonuses. They get a little extra piece of the pie. Okay? So there's something to be said about that. At least a little bit to be said about that. And the Yankees show no evidence of caring about that, of actually caring about that like they say they do. So this beard policy and the reason behind it shows me that they're scared and that their ball club, that their business side of the ball club is in shambles. And that they're scrambling to find any way to get players to sign with them because nobody wants to sign with them. And instead of actually addressing the real reasons for that, they're just avoiding it. They're denying it and avoiding it. And on top of that, one of the reasons probably why no one wants to sign with them that they're refusing to acknowledge is because you have a puppet manager who just got extended for 2 more years. And he exposed himself in droves in the playoffs, especially the World Series, because as soon as he had the ability and had the responsibility to make decisions for himself on his own, because these were, tight games, playoff games, chess match type games that mattered, he shit the bed. The whole regular season, he could be on autopilot because he listens to the analytics guys and whatever Cashman and Hal tell him to do. Follow the analytics. This is what we care about. This will work good, and this will be good enough. And then the playoffs come around, you actually have to play baseball. And when the first time they actually had to play a good team, they shit the bed. I'm sorry to say, the Royals were not a good team. They were an okay team. They had a couple really good players, and that was it. And they sort of struggled through that. And then they played the Indians, or the Guardians, and the Guardians had a really good bullpen. And that was basically it. They had some scrappy players, and they had a good mindset and a will to win, but they just weren't good enough. The Yankees were a better team than them, which is crazy to say. And then when they finally played a team that was actually good at baseball and knew baseball and had a manager, as much as I hate Dave Roberts, he's a smart guy. They were easily able to exploit the Yankees for what they were, and they bent Aaron Boone over a barrel without any issues whatsoever. And he was exploited for that, and what's the word I'm thinking of? Exposed. Exposed is the word, not exploited. Exposed. And what do the Yankees do? Oh, we're going to extend this shitty manager's contract out. So you're still going to have shitty coaches and management and a shitty GM who doesn't really care about you. He only cares about money, and he has no problem shit talking the players and making them out to be the bad guys in public and dicking them over in contract negotiations and not keeping to his word. Why? I wonder why can't we sign players? Why does anyone want to play with our team? It must be the beard policy. It must be the beard policy. So I obviously am not happy about this past week's updates with the Yankees. It doesn't give me any warm feelings whatsoever that the team is going to be competitive again this year. Not whatsoever. They still don't have a real third baseman who's going to produce anything. They have Cabrera and they have DJ LeMahieu. And we already know how those guys have been lately. The team stinks, and what's frustrating from a fan's perspective is that they're treating us like idiots. And there's too many of us Yankees fans that just buy into it and just don't even realize it. I know it's just a game, it's whatever. Got it. It's bread and circus. It's to distract you from reality of life. Whatever. But I'm still a sports fan. I still like baseball. I'm a baseball guy. I played it. I know the actual value competitive sports can bring to you and the people watching it, not just for entertainment value. There are a lot of lessons in sports that lately a lot of people have been trying to hide and pretend don't exist. And it's probably a good reason why Major League Baseball players kind of stink these days. You have pitchers who don't know how to actually pitch smart. They just throw hard. And you have batters who are also stupid and stink and bat under 240 and think that's a good year. Strike out 200 times. Because they grew up with those people not showing them the lessons and the value of competitive sports. And it's not just about go play there and be good and make money and be rich and famous and people will love you, but there's teamwork, there's communication lessons, there's competition lessons, there's how to deal with stress, how to deal with adversity, how to deal with loss, how to bounce back, how to learn from your mistakes, how to improve off of your successes, how to power through when motivation isn't there, how to lead. All that's getting lost. That's what is frustrating about it, is that stuff's getting lost, and we're getting this garbage product out of it. And it's only a matter of time hopefully before we wake up and realize it as sports fans in general. Because it's happening the NBA sucks. Football is that's going to be a long road for people to realize, that's going on over there too. But that's what's frustrating, because I appreciate this sport for more than just entertainment value and home runs. I appreciate all those lessons and value you can get out of it. And it's frustrating to see what it's becoming, especially with the Yankees, because I'm a Yankees fan and I'm not going to switch teams. Sure, I'll watch the Mets because my grandfather, Big Al Scalingi, rest in power, was a Mets fan. Got to respect that. But I'm not switching. I still like the Yankees. All my favorite players were Yankees. They were actually good players who exuded those qualities and helped instill those into me. So that's all I got to say about that. But now we have time to cool off a little bit. So Great advice and insight by McStiff for pointing that out, and now we'll have a chance to move on. With that, we'll get into the good stuff, and we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Cutlet, fragrance for Italian men. Are you a mid-30s Italian-American fella living in your parents' basement and striking out with the chicks every time you make a move? That's probably because you reek of basement mold, mothballs, and failure. Well, now you can mask that stench with the all-new Cutlet Cologne, a fragrance made just for Italian men by none other than WAP genius himself, Anthony Rigatoni. Tony realized years ago that no woman in the tri-state area could resist the smell of fresh chicken cutlets, and he has finally found a way to harness that sweet aroma and unleash it directly onto you as a cologne to transform your aura from chump to champ with just a few sprays. So to stop striking out and start getting use out of that pull-out couch, get yourself a bottle of Cutlet today by visiting www.cutletcuck.com. If you use the promo code Breaded for your pleasure, you'll get 29% off your first bottle. Let me tell you something, folks. Take it from, by the way, real quick, I got the heat on and it's blowing cold air. Not happy about that. Anyway, take it from an Italian-American who spends a good amount of time in his adult life in his parents' basement. The smell of fresh cutlets will give anybody the vapors, male or female. So if you want to make some serious progress in the dating game, forget about the apps. Get yourself some Cutlet, okay? And if you use a promo code, you get a deal on Cutlet. So that's right up my alley. Anyway, the cage fact. Got a little bit of a personal news update in the cage world, and I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but it's an interesting situation we got going on here. So, as we know, his son Weston was charged with assault on his mother. I forgot her name. Doesn't matter. Sometime last year, and he turned himself in because he had a warrant after his arrest. Turned himself in. He pled not guilty. They're going through that whole process, and I don't know if she's pressing charges or just suing him for the assault, but I know at the very least he's getting sued for it, Weston. Well, now his ex-wife is suing Nic Cage for enabling his behavior. Now, obviously, the initial reaction that I had was hogwash. But I took the LPDS step back to try to assess the situation as objectively as possible, do my own little investigation from both sides of the aisle to kind of figure out what's what in this situation. Now, the lawsuit claims that Nic Cage has not been there as a father figure to him, and that he enables his bad behaviors and his substance abuse by going out and drinking with him and not being there for him as a father and this and that. And it indirectly led to Weston being, charged with assaulting his mom. They had a argument, and then I guess he hit her. Now, technically you can argue that. But here's where I must be missing something. Here's where maybe my bias is getting the best of me because I can't see through her side that much. But Nic Cage's son is a 34-year-old man. Okay? No matter what, your parents don't have any legal responsibility or anything that they can do to force you to act and be a certain way. Fortunately or unfortunately. He is a full-on adult. He has to take responsibility for his actions or inactions and his decisions all the time. So number one, that's why it's on him. The responsibility is on him. Two, what I don't understand is if you're trying to say that he was raised improperly and became this way, and that's why he's a bad adult now and he's too far gone or whatever, then you have to take responsibility as the mother too. So if you're going to sue the father, you're almost essentially sort of implicating yourself in that he did not have good parents. I know you're just trying to place 100% blame on NC by doing the suit, but if I were Nic Cage, I would countersue and say, well, I'm suing you for the same exact stuff because we were both his parents. And our parenting, if you're saying our parenting led to this, then both of our parenting led to this. Or this is a money grab. She knows it's bullshit, and she may be trying to scare him into giving her some money and getting out of there. I don't know. But something doesn't make sense. I haven't seen one opinion piece from any lawyer that says she has a case or that this makes sense. They're all saying pretty much the same thing, that this is malarkey. Weston is an adult. The responsibility is on him. Okay, you're not going to make it far with this lawsuit unless, again, you scare Nic Cage enough that he settles out of court monetarily, and I don't think that's going to happen. And if I were his confidant, his consigliere, his friend, whatever, I would tell him, you should countersue, and either you both go through with the lawsuits and you both lose because they're both hogwash lawsuits at that point, or she drops the case knowing he called my bluff. So we'll see what happens, but that's the Cage fact. You're welcome. Moving on over to the Junction, we'll spin the logo up. This is just a quick update for you in the LPDS universe. As you know, I got a new dishwasher. I talked about it in the previous episode, and I got it delivered to me. Now, here's what things got interesting a little bit for us here, folks. I received the dishwasher, and I did not pay to have Lowe's install it. And the reasons for that were, one, it was more expensive than if I hired an independent appliance guy to do it himself by like $60, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather spend $130 than $190 for the same job. Okay? And two, the last time I hired Lowe's to do anything like that, we had the barbecue, the grill debacle from years back. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, 4 years. And that was a whole war. And that put Lowe's temporarily on the blacklist, the LPDS blacklist, because of that. So I didn't want to deal with that. So I had them deliver it. By the way, they use third-party for everything. Third-party contractors for everything. Okay? Delivery, installation, everything. Okay? And they use that as an excuse to not have to change policies and help you out at all in the customer support side. We'll get into that in a second. So they deliver it. And old Libretti over here took it upon himself to watch a couple YouTube videos and figured, I'm just going to install it myself. It really is nothing more than turning the power off, turning the breaker off, unplugging, unhosing, rehosing, replugging. That's all it is. So I spent 2.5 hours doing that. It's a pain to do it by yourself, and especially the first time because you want to go slow and make sure you're correct and all that stuff. It's not an easy job in that regard. It's a simple job, not an easy job in that regard. Awkward kind of crawling underneath stuff and this and that, whatever. So 2.5 hours, I install this thing. Okay. Got some water on the ground, mopped it up, whatever. Turned the power back on, tested it. Works fine. No leaks. No more water coming in the back wall through leakages or anything like that. Everything seemed great. I opened the door to the dishwasher, and that's when I finally realized that they delivered the wrong model. Now, I take full responsibility for not verifying that before I made the install. Got it. No problems there. I'll wear that one for sure. I also half did that because I knew I had 48 hours to return it if something happened to it. If it was incorrect or if it was broken or whatever, 48 hours. So my focus was on seeing if it worked, and I missed seeing if it was the right model. Now, the only difference in the model that I wanted and the model I got was the inside is a steel drum. It's a stainless steel inside, and I wanted the stainless steel inside so that the heating element doesn't melt the dishwasher again like I did my previous one to cause the issue that I had to begin with. So I didn't mind spending the extra couple bucks for a dishwasher that was going to not melt on me. And I guess maybe when I opened the door initially to get some stuff out of there really quick, the door itself had a stainless steel lining. And I probably just made the assumption, oh, this is the right one. Because it looks the same as the model that I bought in store. I went to the store physically with the salesperson, pointed it out, and I got rung up for that and a whole bunch of other stuff, and I went on my way and they delivered it. So what I think might have happened was when they punched it into the computer to ring it up, they probably looked at the picture and was like, oh, they're the same model, except one is stainless steel inside, one is not on the inside. Slightly different serial numbers because of that, obviously, but they rung it up. And again, I didn't look at the receipt to be like, hey, this serial number looks off because I'm just a broke dick customer. I didn't memorize all the serial numbers. Maybe I should next time. So I think that was the simple mistake. And it would have been a lot simpler and easier process, maybe, if I saw that before I installed it. But I didn't. I installed the damn thing. So I call up Lowe's and I go, hey, here's the situation. The wrong model was delivered and it was installed. Now, I didn't mention I installed it. I was installed. They know that Lowe's didn't do it, so it doesn't matter who installed it at that point, a guy or myself, it doesn't matter. So I said, listen, it was delivered today, so I know I have 48 hours. I want to call right now to get this remedied, figured out, situated. I want this. This is the model I want. Well, Lowe's has policies. And Lowe's, regardless of whose fault it is, does not break their policies for nothing. Their policy is we don't do exchanges of any kind. Even if our people made the mistake, we don't do exchanges. What you'll have to do is you'll have to return the old one and buy the one you wanted. Technically, that would be fine by me. But I would be out the delivery charge, and I'd have to pay for redelivery of the new one, and I'd be outside the 48-hour return window by the time the new one actually got delivered to me. Oh, and if I wanted to take out the old one or the new one that was the wrong model, I'd have to pay for that as well on top of that, which they would not waive any of those fees. And when I said, fine, I'll do all of that, but I want the Lowe's folks to install it, and they're like, that's fine. It's $190. I was like, no. You're going to waive that fee because all this is your mistake. And I said, no, we can't do that because we work with a third party, and they're not going to waive their fee. I was like, no, then you pay for it. Then Lowe's will pay the third party, and you'll eat the $190 for the installation. And that they wouldn't go for that either. I spent an hour plus on the phone with poor Felicia and poor Joelle. Joelle was the appliance representative, and Felicia was the manager. Over an hour, probably close to an hour and a half. Going back and forth, trying to figure out the ways to get this. Now, I wasn't mad at them. The last time with the grill, I was talking directly to the third-party delivery and pickup guy, and he was the direct cause of the issue with not picking up the old grill to replace it with the new one. So I unloaded on that guy, as you know, if you listen to those episodes back in the day. This was not Felicia's fault. She doesn't have control over the policies and the relationships with third parties and all this other bullshit. So we were trying to creatively figure out the best way to make this switch happen without all the responsibility being dumped on me. So we came to the final agreement, and I kept saying this. I said, listen, Felicia, I'm not mad at you. I don't hate you. I know you're as much handcuffed by this bullshit as I am. But I am going to get loud, and I am going to be angry. Just know that we're in this together now, because the faster we can come up with a solution, the faster you can hang up the phone and never talk to me again. So let's figure this shit out together. And then I went off. Not on her, but we went off together. And I kept saying, how in the world did Lowe's make this mistake? And they are dumping 100% of the logistics and financial responsibility on me to fix the mistake. How is that possible? Because they screwed up with the item, with the sale, and that created everything else. And we were able to come to the conclusion and improve that because the sales lady, rest her heart, or bless her heart, or whatever the saying is, she said, yeah, I typed it in wrong. I remember the one he looked at, and I typed in the wrong one. That's on me. So it was there. She, on the recorded call, poor lady. She was a very nice lady, by the way, the salesperson. She just made one simple mistake. So I said, it's 100% on you guys, 95% on you guys, because I didn't verify before. So it doesn't matter, though. I verified it within the 48-hour window that this is not the right one, or there was an issue. That was what I was allowed to do. You have 48 hours to let us know if the thing is broken or if it's wrong. And that's exactly what I did. So why then do I have to be responsible for returning this incorrect one and then paying the extra however many $100 for the model I wanted, plus either the delivery fee on top of that or the installation if I went through that for the installation? How am I? And then I have to physically move it, bring it myself. Or I can pay to have them come pick it up, but I couldn't work out that way because it would be outside the delivery or the 48-hour window, because by the time they picked it up, the return would not have gone through and I would have been out because I only had 48 hours. Now, if I used a Lowe's credit card, I would have had 30 days, and they made sure to keep mentioning that to me. as like that's my fault that I didn't use the Lowe's card. No, I didn't create that bullshit policy to try to scam people into using your credit card. You guys did. Because it's got interest rate. I didn't want to pay that interest rate. I know the scam when I see one. It's all technically legal, but it's sleazy, and I wasn't doing it. And I told them, you don't throw that in my face because I know a scam when I see one. So I had the 48 hours. Not to mention the fact that I couldn't just take out this incorrect dishwasher and leave the hoses and the electrical wiring just out and about. Because then I would have to keep the breaker off and the water off to my kitchen sink. So yeah, technically I don't need a dishwasher to wash my dishes, but I need water. And I couldn't do that because if I turn the water on, it's going through those hoses. And if I turn the power on, now I got loose wires for me and Randy to get electrocuted. Or to electrocute the house if the water's on and the hoses spray everywhere, and now we're in big trouble. And I'll be goddamn if I was going to reinstall the broken dishwasher just to return this within the 48-hour window while I wait for a new dishwasher to come, the correct one, and also pay for that as well. And that's what I told Felicia. Not to mention the fact that for the entirety of the hour-plus phone call, because she had it on speaker so we could speak to the appliance guy, Joel, the original guy I spoke with, there was an echo. So every time I started talking, within 5 seconds, I heard myself again, and I couldn't even hear myself speak live because all I kept hearing was my echo. So that slowed everything down as far as what was understood on either end, who can figure out what, and it was absolute mayhem. And it wasn't until the very end we were able to come up with a solution to make it work. What was going to happen was this, and this is what did happen. Joel was clocking in the next day, 10 a.m., bright and early for his shift. I would go back to the physical location of Lowe's and buy the correct model from him. We verified that there was a new one still in stock in the store. I would buy that from him. He would take off, quote unquote, I guess it's technically a rebate, the $100+ difference between the incorrect model I received and paid for originally and that model. So I bought that. Then I would bring it back and switch it out with the incorrect one. And then return the incorrect one to that Lowe's and get refunded that money, ultimately having me only pay for that incorrect model instead of the 100 extra. And they also waived the delivery fee from the original shipment of the incorrect model. That's the only thing that poor Felicia was able to do for me. So that's what I did. I went during the middle of a work day. I was still doing work on my phone while I was traveling and doing the logistics. I picked this bastard up myself. I brought it back to the house. I unhooked the old one. I turned the power off. By the way, I got to get my circuit breakers figured out because nothing is labeled correctly. Absolute nightmare. Didn't realize it until then. So it was a pain in the ass to figure out what breaker actually went to the dishwasher so I wouldn't get electrocuted to death. Got it figured out. You live and learn. So I unhooked that one, and then I went to hook the new one up. Now, the new one, seemingly easier. I had a little bit more wherewithal, but the connection for the inbound water hose, for the water to go from the sink area, where it's connected to the sink, into the dishwasher, not the outbound. The outbound was fine. I was able to connect that, no problem. The inbound was slightly warped because it's made of plastic. So the hose connection was not going on properly. It was going on crooked. And at first I thought it was on me because I was laying on the ground hooking it up and maybe I was discombobulated. But I found a way to get everything upright. So I was looking at it standing up and I found out it was a little bit warped. So when I tested the water and turned it on, water was spraying everywhere. And let me tell you something, I'll be goddamned if I was going to return that and have to do this whole dick dance again to wait for a working dishwasher model. Should I have done that? Maybe. What I ended up doing was just cranking on that hose connector, turning it righty-tighty, righty-tighty, righty-tighty with a wrench until it powered through the warpedness and straightened out. And it was a pain in the ass. I had a quagmire forearm by the time I got done. And I tested it out multiple times and there was no leaks. So then I packed up the incorrect dishwasher, drove it down the block to Lowe's, returned it, got my money back, went home, and did a successful load of dishes that evening. Hours spent on the phone, uninstalling, reinstalling, uninstalling, reinstalling, making mistakes, water getting everywhere, potential for electrocution, dealing with the broken policies of Lowe's, and finding a way to figure it out. Now, this was almost a war. If Felicia was not so accommodating and understanding of the situation and trying to help find solutions, and she was like that third-party contractor who was just an idiot and insultingly offering me gift cards instead, we would have been back at war, and Lowe's would have been back on the blacklist. Now they're just on the watch list. The legal war, the figurative war watch list. I don't need my enemies using this clip against me, saying I'm trying to go to war. But they're on the watch list now for potential business war, if you will. Because their policies are trash and they have no leeway. The poor managers and supervisors have no leeway to work with customers. And that is something I didn't understand with the grill, and I still don't understand now. How do you expect people to continue coming back to buy shit from you if when they get screwed by you guys, by your company in any way, shape, or form, you don't take any response, you dump it all on them? That's not good business. That's not good customer support. That's the opposite. So right now we're in a bit of a cold war with Lowe's because I'm going to do some investigating on their corporate headquarters structure and how they build these policies and why they do it the way they do. What are they protecting? Why they're doing that? And why do those policies not actually help the customer out? There's a reason why, whether it's to save money or they realized that they were getting sued by too many frauds and scam artists using loopholes in their policy system. I don't know what it is. We got to get to the bottom of this, and we got to fix it for the better. Because I don't mind. I never minded Lowe's. It's the customer support that ruins it for them. Plus, they have Craftsman tools now from Sears. They got it from Sears. Craftsman are top of the line, lifetime warranty. So I want to keep going to them. I want them to be part of the LPDS universe still. But their customer support makes it so difficult. And we had to fix that. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. So we're going to fix it one way or another. And that's all I have to say about that, folks. Long story longer, I have a brand new dishwasher that so far works perfectly, No leaks, no issues, no shorts in the cabling. Clean dishes, beautiful stainless steel, protective inside. It was well earned. And also now I know in the future I will hire my appliance guy and give him the $130 to do it himself. My ego wanted me to install that to say, because you're a homeowner, you want to take some ownership in that, not just not financial ownership, but real, like I did this. And I got that. I did it twice in 2 days. I'm good there. Now, from here on out, if I get a new dishwasher or a new appliance, you guys take care of it. I'll use my Lowe's credit card for it. So now that's all I got to say about that. Before we go, though, the big three, the 3 pillars of staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, less stressed, more genuine human being and being able to spread that positivity and goodness throughout the land to all those around you. Number 1, exercise every day. Do at least one thing each day to improve your fitness and health physically, mentally, or emotionally. It's vital. And let me tell you something. A physical exercise will help you mentally and emotionally too. Okay? Number 2, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. Avoid the negativity. When the opportunity arises to be shitty and negative to somebody, even if you think they deserve it, take the LPDS step back, take a deep breath, detach from your emotions, and omit yourself from that situation altogether. That way you're minimizing the negativity and the shit and the garbage and the chaos going on in the world, and you have the capacity to go focus on more positive, productive things with your lives. And that'll make you feel better too. That also helps your mental and emotional health and wellness by getting out of that negative and the bullshit. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And you do this by thinking about every day, taking time to actively think about at least one good thing in your life and how shitty your life would be like without that thing or that person or whatever. And that puts you in the state of gratitude as opposed to taking things for granted. And the more often you're living in that state of gratitude, the less often you're going to be inclined to get involved in the negative and the shittiness going on in the world and being a part of that. And then you'll be able to focus on, getting your exercise in and improving your health and wellness physically, mentally, emotionally. And you do all those 3 things a little bit each and every day. I promise you, you could put, this is the LPL man shake, the LPDS guarantee. You do these things a little bit every day, and soon enough, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends and enemies. Hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. Love the hotline, miss the hotline, call the hotline, 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.